Men used to die in wars. That's something that I was told numerous times actually at my old job by other women and sometimes other guys as well. And I found it to be funny because they knew it got to me, and I usually don't get too worked up about things, but for some reason that phrase really got to me, and I wanted to learn why. And I think when people say that, right, I think they're implying that today's man is softer, weaker, maybe less capable, things of that nature, right? And I think that's what really got to me. And it made me think, is that actually true? Like, are men in today's society actually getting softer? And if so, why? What is going on that is creating weaker men? And to be honest, the more I thought about it, the more I came to the conclusion that I don't think men necessarily got softer. What I think has happened is that men are no longer needed, and society's basically telling everybody, hey, what you used to do is no longer needed, so go kick rocks. And I think that takes a huge mental toll on the majority of men in today's society, and it's a lot to carry. And I think if you go about your day-to-day and you look at the men that you encounter, I feel like a lot of their heads are down, and I think it's a lack of fulfillment, and it's coming from a lack of purpose. I mean, think about it. For 100,000 years, our role as a man was what? Provide, protect, and lead. Because if we didn't, people died, right? There was no confusion about what our purpose was. Your value wasn't determined about what people said about you online, right? It was proven every single day, and you were thankful, right? You woke up every single day knowing that you mattered because you had a goal or a task that you needed to achieve. For example, I used to be a UPS driver, and they were the worst days that I've ever had in my life. It was wake up at 8, clock out at 8, 12-hour shifts, busting my back. It's not something I look back on fondly, but what I do remember from those days, I worked there for about 3 years, but the times when I would get off after a long day and the amount of endorphins that would rush through my head and make me feel happy was crazy. And I think there's something to that of the struggle that we go through on a day-to-day basis. And when we're not really faced with too much struggle, or we don't really have a purpose, I think it can really lead to negative effects. And I think that's something, again, that no generation has faced ever before, and no one really knows how to deal with it. But going back to the topic of what we're being replaced with, it's, over time, systems replaced our survival. Technology replaced physical strength, institutions replaced leadership, comfort replaced responsibility. And this isn't about blaming women or modern life, it's about something quieter and I would say more uncomfortable. Men no longer have to be providers to survive. We no longer have to lead to be included, and we no longer have to be strong to be safe. So the world stopped demanding anything from us. And when nothing is demanded of you as a man, you start to feel unwanted and unneeded. And I don't think there's a worse feeling than that. So when you feel unwanted or unneeded, right, the first thing is to find something where you are wanted or needed, right? And I think for a lot of men that comes by building a family, right? And I think in today's society, it's been attacked. The family has been attacked, and it's been stripped of what it used to be, right? It should be something that is celebrated and appreciated, and now it's laughed at almost, and women no longer want to be wives. They no longer want to support their husband, right? It's girl bossy to not want that. And I think as men, we're so inclined to want to almost sacrifice our lives for someone else. And with society and the downward trends, and you jump on your phone, right, and you scroll for 2 minutes, you're going to find some of the most toxic things ever that can really just destroy your mental in a matter of minutes, right? But to kind of go back to the topic at hand, which is the phrase "men used to die at war." I just think overall it's obviously really insensitive to the people who fought, right? And also not fair to what the man goes through today in our day to day, right? A lot of us have a purpose, especially if you're in your 20s or 30s, which I'm about in the middle there, but it brings up a good point, which is, hey, maybe we aren't as masculine as the men before us. And I know there's studies all over the place saying testosterone has been falling for decades and we're the least manly men ever, but I think that we are fighting battles that no other generation has ever fought before. I mean, if you take a step back and look what we have to deal with on a day-to-day, and again, this isn't a pity party. I'm happy with my life. I'm doing well. It's just it's something to take a look at and be appreciative that whatever you're doing, to be happy about it, because there's no generation that has had to go what you and we are going through. And I kind of touched on it already, but it's the fact that there is no purpose for a man unless you have a family, right? And to get a family nowadays is very hard. To find someone that you can trust and you can love and you can feed for is so rare. And again, it's society has attacked the family, and it's made it almost seem like the worst decision ever. I mean, it's very sad. It's very, very sad. But to kind of wrap everything up, I think it puts in perspective what a lot of us are going through and why a lot of men are the way that they are. I think if you take away the family, if you take away our purpose, if you take away everything that we were built to be, then you're left with nothing. And when you're left with nothing, all you have is yourself. And I think that's why a lot of men now are working on themselves. They're going to the gym. They're pursuing their careers. And that's only if you've made it past mentally all the hoops and ladders that we have to go through. I mean, there's a lot of men who are still dealing with the fact that, hey, I need to figure my shit out, right? And I don't blame them. And I think it's something that's really real, and it's something that's going on in society, and it's never talked about. And if you don't get your shit together as a man, then you're pretty much screwed. But anyway, I just wanted to share my thoughts on it, and I'll continue to share my thoughts. I just